Welcome to In the Blue. I am Dr. Corey Frogley, founder and CEO of BlueIQ, and so excited to be with you today. And I've got this guest that has blown my mind today, you guys. I just got introduced to Jim Chester several months ago, and he shared with me what he's done in the marketing arena in chiropractic. And a couple of things blew my mind. Number one, he's not a chiropractor. He has worked in the chiropractic profession for literally decades. And this guy probably has set an official record of scheduling the most chiropractic new patient appointments at one fair. He did 650 new patient appointments at one fair. The guy did over 600 events over 36 months. I mean, you want to talk about a machine, you want to talk about a purpose-driven person. This guy probably is more passionate about chiropractic than a lot of the chiropractors that I end up meeting with. And I'm really excited to share him today, to introduce him to our audience. His Chiro Hustle podcast has become the #1 podcast in our industry. If you haven't heard it, you need to subscribe. He just drops gold day after day after day. And as we got talking, we were talking about, how important it is to market by the numbers. BlueIQ Nation, we're all about the data and making data-driven decisions. And this guy has the numbers. And this is what got me so excited about this conversation about kind of old school and new school approach to marketing. Because as you guys know, when I grew up in the profession, I was so passionate about chiropractic. I was a lot like Jim, and I was willing to go anywhere and everywhere. I did spinal screenings, I knocked on doors, I did door hangers, I went out in the yellow pages. Any opportunity to speak, I spoke in libraries, I spoke at corporate events. I mean, not quite a grocery store, but it was kind of like a grocery store. Willing to do whatever it takes to get the chiropractic message out there, because we are on the planet to save lives. Amen. And this is why Jim is on the show, because I am so impressed with his purpose, his drive to change people, change their lives, save them from unnecessary surgery and drugs. And Jim, welcome to the show. And please share with us, how did you become so passionate about chiropractic?
Well, what's up, BlueIQ Nation? Really great to be here. Thanks for the invite, Dr. Corey. It's going to be fun. I'm really focused today, and I want to help your listeners with some strategy and some ideas that might help them. Awesome. I always like to tell people you might want to pull a pen and paper out and take some notes as we talk today, because we're going to deliver the goods.
Yeah, baby.
And that's something I'm really excited about, because as you develop into someone, you start to learn things. And I wanted to go hyper-focused. So I learned chiropractic. I learned it from a journalistic perspective. I learned it from a marketing perspective. I learned how to work in a dark room and develop x-rays. I learned it from how to set people up into traction. I learned rehab, and I learned it from sales. I learned it through podcasting, documentary filmmaking. I learned it from everything that I thought was important. I learned it from listening to BJ Palmer on recordings, and listening to Jim Sigafus and watching videos of him, and watching videos of Reggie Gold and listening to Reggie Gold stuff. And I just immersed myself, and I went to the Gonstead Clinic, and I went to I visited BJ Palmer's mansion. So I think immersion is something to be said. And you mentioned it, I did 600 spinal screenings in 36 months, and I immersed myself.
Incredible. And
now we've done 371 episodes of this podcast. I immersed myself. Yeah. So I think that if you really want to go, you go a mile deep and an inch wide, and you're going to hit what you want.
And that's just that statement alone, is such a powerful message for our audience, and kind of becoming obsessed, becoming the expert. I mean, this guy's done everything except for go to chiropractic school, and is making a massive impact and assisting this whole profession. Wow.
Yeah. Mile deep, inch wide is a strategy. And you're right. Become so passionate about what you're doing that nothing else really matters around you.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously I'll pump the brakes a bit. I do really focus on personal development. I focus on taking care of my body. I take care of my spirituality. I take care of my business, and I take care of my relationships. So it's not just tunnel vision. I'm going to live on a one-legged stool. Yeah, you got to support the four legs of your stool. So
yeah,
I do like to really be passionate, but I'm also very driven to keep a good balance in all aspects of life.
Yeah, I mean, that is the chiropractic philosophy, right? And I think that's why it resonates. There's such I mean, you've been in this industry so long. What would you say is the biggest obstacle or maybe tool that you've developed in switching the mindset of a potential patient, moving them from thinking pills and surgery and whatever else is the answer, to introducing them into this 3Ts, traumas, thoughts and toxins, and spinal care, and the nervous system being the master organ? What is that tool that helps switch people's mind?
Well, I think that's a really good question, and it's all your message, and it's all how you connect with your audience. And people know when you're on fire. Our personalities are tone, okay, and the person is tone, and the nervous system is tone, and the way that we look at somebody, you can tell if somebody's high tone and like they take care of themselves, or you can tell if someone's low tone and they're not taking care of themselves. Yeah. And a lot of times when people come to a chiropractor, they're low tone and they want somebody to optimize them and they want to feel better. And you don't know what's going on. You don't know where they came from, but they come in and they fill out this intake form like, hey, I got this and this and this and this. And by, visit 7 to 10, they don't even remember what they come in for. And their tone shifts. Yeah. So I think a lot has to do about understanding that the person needs you. And the reason that they're there for you is because they're looking for the answers from you. And I always joke around. I say, the chiropractor, they'll do an adjustment for free all day. What you pay for is their 7 years of education and their dedication to becoming a professional, taking care of you and your family. That's what you pay for. Yeah. The adjustment's always the free part.
Well, I tell you, it's such an incredible profession. I grew up with a father as a chiropractor. I didn't know anything different than that side of healthcare. So me coming into the industry, it was pretty easy to talk to people about why chiropractic was so great, what I didn't understand, and I had to research, and I really had to get into the mindset of what a traditional person thinks, what their frame of health is, and then how do I build a conversation? How do I gain the confidence? How do I ignite my fire within? And then, like you said, build a message that resonates and attracts your people, like your tribe. And you've got some amazing tactics, both kind of modern, but I would say a throwback to some of the, like the old grinding, the things that still work. Like, tell our audience, what are you still seeing works in the industry to attract your ideal new patients?
Yeah. I'll get into podcasting in a moment, but before I do that, I think that we have to talk a little bit of old school strategy. And there's a real anchor statement. It's the more hands you shake, the more money you make.
I love it.
And you have to be able to go out there into your community and join your young professionals group, go golfing if that's what it takes. Go to dinner parties if that's what it takes. Go to the breakfast club, join the BNI chapter or the Chamber of Commerce and meet people for coffee once a week or twice a month or whatever it is. But you got to go do that. You got to get out there and put a 10 by 10 booth up in your local community and wave at people and tell people the chiropractic, tell the story, tell the truth, schedule them in for care. I think that those things alone are so essential to becoming the known, liked, and trusted people and the resource in your community. Yeah. There's nothing that can really change the direction of your future other than building connections with people, and people still matter. That's one of the things that chiropractic is really powerful with, is they take care of the person. And when you take care of people, it changes the community, it changes the family, it changes the whole dynamic. And The guy that I learned this from, I never met him before. His name was Barry Anderson. And he said, if we don't tell people the truth about chiropractic, someone else will close them for drugs or surgery.
Yeah.
And I think that understanding the marketing method is building personal relationships. And then we'll transition to, current. And I think that podcasting is really the anchor that I would go with today. Mm-hmm. And I would create a show, and I'd bring on, I'd draw a 7-mile radius around my clinic. And then I would go and find out all the places that I was a consumer of.
Yeah.
And the people that I went and spent my money at. Like right now, I walk to a coffee shop, I walk to a restaurant, I go to my gym, I go get an oil change, I have an auto place that I go take my car to. I would create my Dream 100. And I know you were just with Russell Brunson over this past weekend. The Dream 100 is the biggest essential thing that I think people could do that want to build influence in our local community.
Yeah.
Write down that Dream 100, figure out how to create a podcast show, bring those people on as guests.
Yeah.
And now you're building that personal connection. They're going to share this podcast episode with their friends, their family, their colleagues, their kids, whoever. They're going to share it with everybody because they're so proud that somebody put a spotlight on them, interviewed them, and now they're sharing this to their local group. It's going to hit Facebook. It's going to hit YouTube. It's going to hit the podcast streaming platforms. And you can take this and create micro content that will go on to your whatever, Facebook reels, your Instagram reels, your TikTok stories. Like, I think that the things I shared about local community building to the podcast local community building, they marry each other. You should create a marketing portfolio, and you should diversify your portfolio with different aspects of community outreach, both digitally and in person.
That's such a that resonates with me only because this is such a big strategy that I didn't really know I was doing. I didn't, there was no concept of Dream 100, right? I didn't even discover the ultimate marketing machine until, just a few years ago. But luckily I had good instinct to work with other providers, work with where my ideal patients were, whether that was at the organic grocery store or they were at a fitness center or at the holistic dentist, not just any dentist, but right, because those are the mindset people. And I can honestly attribute a lot of my success to just a handful of these relationships that saw me as the expert, the go-to doctor, because of exactly what you're saying, Jim. I became the expert in their mind, and they literally sent me thousands. I mean, not just hundreds, thousands of patients over the years, over my 2-decade career of being in practice. And so this message, like honing the message and then a platform that gets it out there. I mean, you and I are on a podcast. That's why we do what we do, because this is the way to get message out there in front of people. So for those who have never done it, they're a little nervous. They're maybe a little apprehensive because of the technology or some of this stuff. What would you say is the best resource to learn the steps of podcasting?
Yeah, before we get into that, I just have one thing to clear up with people. That Dream 100, the 7-mile radius thing, I would say go and do searches for the people that have the most Google reviews for any aspect of business in your local community and bring them onto your show. Yeah. So now we'll talk about apprehension of actually producing something and how to do it. Me and my team created a podcast training course. It's called Influencer Authority Podcast Training. Nice. I think that if I were to tell anybody what to do, learn from somebody that does this for a living. And we've been cash positive since day one doing a podcast show. You're not going to find many people out there that actually could turn their message into a business. Yeah. And that's what we've done. So I would say find your favorite person. I love John Lee Dumas. I picked up so much stuff on his last book. I went to a mastermind last year he spoke at down in Puerto Rico. It's called The Common Path to Uncommon Success. Read that book. He also has his own podcast training stuff that he pitches in the book, and his community is awesome as well. But learn from an expert. And it doesn't have to be that hard. I would just say that a couple things to keep in mind. What people see matters, so get a good camera.
Yeah.
What people hear matters, so get yourself a good mic, and make sure you get good lighting and a solid internet connection. And with that, find yourself a awesome streaming platform. You're using Zoom. My team likes StreamYard. So find something to stay consistent with it, stay on brand, stay on purpose, and have good systems around you. Because a podcast, if you're not watching it on YouTube or a Facebook Live, guess what you're doing? You got headphones on and you're listening to the audio. So audio matters. So keep that in mind too. If you have any apprehension, it's super easy. So easy a 15-year-old could do it.
Yeah.
You just got to go do the thing.
Well, and for those of you who have teenagers, hire them. Like, this is a great opportunity to give them a job and learn a skill that's, keep the money in the family.
So easy a 15-year-old could do it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I admire about you, Jim, and in our short time we've known each other is how much you've invested in yourself. I think that's so key. It's like, if our doctors want to level up, you have to invest in yourself. So this is a skill, just like going and learning how to set an atlas or do a side posture. You've got to go learn these skills, and don't be daunted. Like, just take one step at a time. And even if it took you 6 months to put it into place, the benefit that's going to reap long-term. And then think about, Jim, combining something like that with some old school tactics. Kind of speak to that, how that changes when you show up physically in the community.
Bro, it takes an average person, when you give them the best idea in the world, it could be the best idea in the world. It takes them 6 to 18 months to implement. Okay. So it takes a while for people to actually convince themselves and give themselves permission to go execute on something. 6 to 18 months. So just clearing up the air for people that have a little diversion from starting. Yeah. It takes a while. Actually, my first podcast gear, I was so scared. I didn't like the way I looked on camera. I didn't like the sound of my voice. And every time I talked, I did this. And it was so awkwardly stupid to watch, but I still persevered. I went on and I was like, I'm going to do 365 Facebook Lives in 2018. And I did it. Wow. And I think you just have to really be forward and convince yourself almost that you got to get it right, or you don't got to get it right, but you got to get going. Yeah. And dude, the first 2 years I bought my mic and my webcam and stuff. It sat in a closet.
Wow.
I knew I was going to start a podcast, and I wanted to start a podcast, and I wanted to be somebody that was going to be a megaphone for the chiropractic profession. Yeah. And in my closet, my hall, still in a box, was my Yeti Blue mic and my Logitech webcam, and it just sat there.
Wow. For
2 years, because I didn't have the confidence to start my damn thing.
Wow. There you go, guys. There you go. Don't wait 2 years.
Yeah, and the world needs your message.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think, I don't know if I answered your question exactly the way that it was framed, but.
No, that's okay. That was all great information. Let's go back to the question. The question is, when you start getting your content out there, right? We have so many platforms now to get your message out there. And the coolest thing that I have found is that when you dial in your message, you get it out there for people to consume, that those who are looking for you, it's like you've shown up in their life at the right time, and they need you. This kind of information keeps you at the top of mind. So for those of you who are personal injury practices, right? When they have an injury, they automatically think of you because you're always there. Your content is always out there. But you mentioned, kind of old school tactics, whether that's going out and spinal screenings still work. Speaking in the community still works. We're coming out of, this ridiculous pandemic. I'll leave it at that. But it's an opportunity now to be out and physically being and present with people again. And so I guess just kind of speak to that, Jim. When you do show up physically and they've seen you now all over, there's something interesting about video and podcasting and social media. It almost creates this celebrity buzz feeling. Like they've seen you on TV, but it's social media more. They recognize you. So if you're at a spinal screening, you're out in the community, it's this they already kind of know you, like you, trust you, and you've shortened that cycle where you can now invite them into your world. Have you found that, Jim? Does that make sense?
Well, I do. I see that. I'll just share a little bit. The original question you asked me before is personal development stuff, and I think when you change, everything changes around you, and when you level up, you attract new opportunities that you never could have before. So you get a whole nother group of people in your life when you change and when you take care of yourself. But the way that things happen, it's law of attraction. When you're doing the right things happen. And when you're not showing up and you're procrastinating, you're not doing the things that you should be doing, it never manifests for you. So when it comes to keeping your head in the game and doing a really good job, like John DeMartini taught me this, you have to give yourself permission to be great. No one's going to wake up in the morning and give you permission to be great except for you. Yeah. And one of my mentors once taught me this, Dr. Corey, is stop taking what people give you and start taking what you want. Nice. Well, if you want mediocre, live mediocre. If you want greatness and if you want the top, go to the top. Yeah. So I think there's room for everybody, but you have to get clear with that. Yeah. And like you said, when you go and invest in yourself, you put yourself in rooms full of different levels of people. And you're saying to me off camera, the type of people that you've attracted with BlueIQ. Well, I think that when people are really clear, I've been in rooms full of multimillionaire people. And when I get in that type of space, there's a couple commonalities that people have. Yeah. And this isn't always a good thing. Some of them still lack clarity. Yeah. Some of them still lack love. Happiness. Yeah. Some of them still lack clarity and love. Yeah. So I think there's an old, I think it's Greek mythology or Roman mythology or something, but know thyself. I don't know who said that, but I think that that's so important when you're doing anything, is know who the hell you are. Yeah. And when I go to an event, Dr. Corey, when I go to an event, I'm so fired up. Like, I hope that when people show up to that event, I'm on their list to connect with. Yeah. Like when they're going to a big seminar and they know that I'm coming because of this social media entourage effect that you get, that people want to stop and talk to me. People want selfies with me. They want to pick my brain about marketing. They want to pick my brain about podcasting. And that I do the same thing. When I go to a big event, I know who's going to be in attendance. And I'm like, all right, it's my job to meet these 5 people this weekend. Yeah. This is my duty. Yeah. And that's what I think other people do because of what we've done with Chiro Hustle. Now I'll go to an event like New Beginnings, or I'll go to an event like Cal Jam or Mile High. And there's people that specifically have me on their list to have lunch with, or to get a picture with me, or to talk to me about anything under the sun when it comes to this beautiful profession. Yeah. Because you've honed a craft, you've developed a skill, the coolest thing about doing this type of media is the more you talk, the more comfortable you get with the camera, the more you know thyself. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's an incredible message, Jim, for our audience, is if you just sitting in your office treating patients, and that's the only conversations you're having, and you go home and you're with your family, you're missing opportunities to know you, like your belief systems, because when you're talking about them and you're selling, which sells is just persuasion to people making better decisions and overcoming obstacles to get those outcomes. Like if you're not passionate about what you truly believe, and this is the success of Jim Chester, this is the success of Chiro Hustle. He sat down, disciplined himself to do that many podcasts, that many chiropractic screenings, to the point where now, like, it oozes out of him. You're so comfortable, and that electricity that resonates and attracts people didn't just show up, like it was developed. And I'm challenging our audience
to develop that muscle, that attraction muscle, by honing your message through a medium like this?
Well, I think outworking everybody is something I enjoy, and I just won't quit. And I think that if you're not absolutely passionate about what you're doing, you might be doing the wrong thing. And you might need to go back to the drawing board and say, hey, maybe I'm not excited about my life. Maybe I'm not excited about this, but find that, go do that, and I never wanted to be the number one chiropractic salesman on planet Earth. I hated it, dude. When I worked at a clinic and they're like, hey, you got to go out and do screens. I'm like, what the hell's that? Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I hated it, dude. Like they made me every weekend go out and do a new event. And I'm just like, I don't like this. I don't want to do this. It's the same way with podcasting. I had such an aversion from doing it. But as I got to doing it, I'm like, I kind of like this. It makes sense to me.
Good at this.
This is, nobody else wants to do this. I'm good at this. Why don't we dominate this space and help more people with it? So I think that clarity comes from actually doing what you don't like to do too.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from doing what you like.
It's finding your zone, right? It's finding that thing like you said, you don't have to master every skill in the chiropractic world. There's so many aspects of this world that you can master. Pick one, just pick one and master that. And you'll see the success come from that. So Jim, we're wrapping up here. I loved this conversation with you. What is the number one message you want to share with our audience?
Protect the sacred trust. If you guys don't know what that means, protecting chiropractic, protect free speech, live for that. And that's why we do what we do with Chiro Hustle. I always say it in the opener. We protect free speech in chiropractic. We protect the sacred trust. We support subluxation-based chiropractors. And we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence, and that when the person gets adjusted, it connects man, the spiritual, to man, the physical. And that's why we do what we do. And then we interview people and we tell their story. And I really believe that your story is the most important thing on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And I've invested more into my adventure of life than I have into the things I possess. So when you invest more into yourself and the experience, you have a better story. And then you're the most valuable person in any room that you go into.
I want to repeat what he just said. He's invested more in himself than he has in any physical asset that he has. He's done that because he knows that as he elevates his being, his message becomes more clear and he can impact more lives. And that's my challenge to you guys. That's why we built BlueIQ, to help you, have the data, have the ability to make decisions in real time, to develop profitable practices, and never have the excuse of, well, I don't have the money to market. There's no such thing as not having the money to market. So, before we wrap up here, I just want to remind our audience here, Jim, that we do have, and Jim would be at this if I had jumped into his world a little bit sooner. But we do have our IQ Accelerator Ignite Live. That's coming up here April 29th and 30th. There are still a few tickets left. You guys need to be at this event. This is all things marketing IQ, where we're connecting the actual data behind the skill set. Not that you have to master every aspect of marketing. That's not the intention of this. This is to understand every aspect of marketing and the data behind it, so that when you hire or work with or do it yourself, you know the data you should be analyzing, how to make the decisions, and then opportunities to gain the skills around those pieces so that you can power your next evolution. And those of you in our BlueIQ Nation know what that means. Your next evolution is powered by marketing, attraction, demand for what your brand does, not just what you do. You power the brand. You are the battery of the brand, the energy, the innate that fuels it. But we build a team, right? We expand, we're expanders because we want to impact more lives. And again, we will have a link below. get to Vegas. Get to Vegas at the Red Rock Hotel. It's going to be absolutely incredible. You're going to absolutely ignite your energy and have opportunities to gain the skills, gain the IQ to help impact more patients' lives. So we'll put that link below so you can grab your tickets here. And we're shutting down tickets in about 7 days, guys. So get your tickets. Jim, it has been an absolute honor to be, I wouldn't even call you a friend to the profession. I would absolutely call you our profession. He's one of us. He, like I said, more passionate, more belief in what we do than some chiropractors I meet. So Jim, thank you so much for your dedication to this profession, but to the message, to saving patients one at a time.
You know, it's been a real honor for me. Thank you, BlueIQ Nation, for listening to Dr. Corey and I today. And yeah, thanks so much for allowing me to send some messages out and to be a part of your community.
How do they follow you, Jim? Where do they go to get more of Jim Chester and Chiro Hustle?
Go to chirohustle.com. Take our free stuff. I've been following this guy named Alex Ramosi lately, and I love it. He says Mosey Nation. My name's Alex Ramosi, and I have nothing to sell to you. I don't either. And so go to chirohustle.com and take all my free stuff. We have a cheat sheet to teach you how to get new patients. We have 2 movies that are at the bottom of the website. Scroll all the way to the bottom.
Oh, cool.
You can download our movies for free. We've produced 2 documentaries over the past 5 years. They're absolutely amazing. And listen to all of our shows. We have 371 of them out now. So
cool.
Go check us out, chirohustle.com. And my name's Jim Chester, and I have nothing to sell to you.
Jim, you're the man, brother. Thank you so much for being in the BlueIQ Nation. Get to work. Drive that evolution through the roof. We can't wait for you to be back with us for another great episode of In the Blue. And in the meantime, serve your team, serve your patients, change your life. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Doc.
And if you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel.